Okay. All right, you gotta go now. How you guys doing out there? I got my neighbor's dog here, all wet, all smelly, and jumping all over me. So if you hear some panting in the background, it's my neighbor's dog that has come up the hill. Tried to take him home, but he is insistent that the best food is here. So he's back, terrorizing the cat. But he's a beautiful dog. I'll see if I can get him on the camera. If he walks in the view of the camera, I'll switch over to him. He reminds me of my guy. He's an English lab, but he's got a really thick head. Wait till you see it. It's huge. All right, what do we have out there? I'm going to read you a story. I'm not going to read you a story. We're going to go through The Raven. I said I would do that we're going to read The Raven. It's a psychological poem. It's absolutely terrifying. Some people read it as a supernatural poem, but it's not. It's psychological, and it has a really great moral at the very end. Well, I mean, it's not written in there at the very end, but the structure is incredible on this thing. Let's see, the dog. The dog is quietly on the ground right now, and I want to keep it that way. But if the dog gets excited, I'll pan over to him. Taking a break from the market efficiency reading. Yeah. Ireland. Hello from Jordan. Good. Look at that. All over the world. Will you stream every day? What's the schedule of these sessions? No, not every day. Maybe I'll probably settle it down to 3 times a week. I think one stream will be about CFA and questions about that. One stream will be about the market. And then one stream will be a casual conversation. Like what I think about the color red. I don't mind it as a nice accent piece, but I certainly wouldn't wear it. Things like that. You see how interesting that was? What else do we have here? Fed's balance sheet coming out. Enjoyed the other two about repos and reserves. The balance sheet one is a big one because there's so much to know about each line item on the balance sheet and what it's used for. It is going to take me some time to do that one, and I'm thick in the middle of getting the new CFA content up. Almost done the private markets readings. Sydney. There we go. My grandpa said to check out the poem The Road to Ithaca and If by Rudyard Kipling. If is a great one. If is a good poem. But it's just full of good advice. I mean, you could just, if you're into Shakespeare, as much of a doofus as Polonius was, Polonius gave Laertes great advice. Neither a borrower nor lender be. Costly thy habit as thy purse can afford, expressed in rich, not gaudy. Right? I mean, it was good advice, and if is the same thing as good advice. If you can walk with kings but not lose the common touch, right? If you can do all this, then my son, one day you'll be a man. Portugal, Quebec, hey, Quebec there, eh? Greece. Will we ever hear the story of the guy who sold you the house? Yeah, that is one hell of a story. I even have it on video. But yeah, I'm going to tell that story one day. Let's see, 46 degrees and 46 Fahrenheit in Philadelphia. It's like, it was 32 here today, Celsius, which is 64, like in the 90s. Very little humidity. A little bit of humidity creeping in now because it's supposed to rain tonight and a little into tomorrow. All right, listen, let's do The Raven. I can't put it on the screen for you, but I want you to just open another browser and look it up. And as much as you think, oh, this is going to be boring, trust me, you will have a new respect for poetry. And it has, I think, a really great message in this poem. So I'll give you, hey. Oh. Out. Come on. Get. Nope. Stay away. Come here. Stop. Damn it. Come here. Come here. Get. Come here. Come here. Stop. 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 Go. Go. Get. Out. Get. Out. Out. Go. Well, that was pretty tense. The dog saw the cat and just took a dive at it, so I had to break them up there. Just give me a second here. Stay here. Stay here. No, come here. Come here. There. Whew. Okay. By this time, you should have the Raven open, right? Let's see what happens. That was tense. Dog ate the kids. No, I think the dog has another story to tell. The dog saw the cat and made a run at it. So I had to block the dog off. I hate to do this. This isn't going to work tonight because this dog is my neighbor's dog and he's just a handful. I'm just going to leave the sunset on. We'll pass on this tonight. It's just not going to work out with the dog and the cat in close proximity like this. And we'll just do it another night. In the meantime, I'll leave the sunset on, and we'll try this on Monday night. Sorry about that, but I got to try to get this dog home. Yeah. I will leave you with the sunset. Hey, buddy, come on. You are coming home. Oh, okay, the cat's right there, and the dog's right here. Okay, give me 5 minutes. Come on, out this way. Let's go, come on, let's go.
Imagine just reading here every day. You have no worries. What do you think? It's not cold. Nothing novel. You have to wake up to go to work. And again,
It's a nice view.
say something.
It would be a nice view for sure.
Yeah. Just chilling. Nothing else.
Peace.
Boy.
Hopefully it doesn't come back.
Thank you.
Something else come out.
Hmm?
It's come out from my first game.
Yes, set in now.
Whew. What a walk. I had to walk the dog home to the neighbors. It's straight down the side of the hill. Whew, and then right back up the hill. I am tired now. And it's hot. Hot. All right. Well, we can't do the Raven, but I'll answer some questions here. Oh, what do we got? Costa Rica, not Puerto Rico. Yeah, Costa Rica is the rich coast. Costa Rica, rich coast. Can you snap a panorama picture of this once? Not really. I don't know. I think the phone can do that, but what I'll do is I will pan around for you. Let's go all the way to the other side here. You can see the cloud cover coming in on the mountains at the far end. We are now facing my left, and let's just pan around. And we're back to the sunset here, and we'll head over to the right. That's basically what I got. Almost a 180 view right across. We'll keep going. There's a nice breeze coming in now. And there we go. That's what I got for the view. The other side of the house is not much of a view. The view is pretty much right in front of you there. Okay, let's see what we got here. What is your SAA? Well, right now it's heavy on duration, but I believe I have a small cap fund, at least externally managed. I got a small cap fund, and I think I got an equal weight S&P, or I don't know, value or something. I'm not sure exactly what I have there. What are your thoughts on dimensional fund advisors? And look who's back. The cicadas complaining about the sunset. They're not here all year long. You got another couple of weeks of cicadas, and then they simply just die off. Dimensional fund advisors, their investment philosophy is broadly in market efficiency and creating diversified portfolios where certain style and factor tilts. Sounds pretty common to me. What am I missing? There are ETFs that do that. You can get momentum ETFs, value ETFs, growth ETFs, quality income. There are, if you have the applied level in the, I believe it's in the financials, there is a top-down or no, in sector studies, there's a top-down folder and one for factors, how to build a factor portfolio. And there are ETFs that do that. So I'm not sure what you mean by, well, I guess it's the company Dimensional Fund Advisors that seem to be doing, I don't know, everyday stuff. Is that Olympic-sized pool length? I don't think so. It's 57 feet. And I think width, is 14 feet, 57 by 14. The Raven, or did I miss it? Well, I was gonna do the Raven, but my neighbor's dog showed up and attacked the cat, which is not my cat, by the way. In all fairness, it's not my cat, but the cat lives at the house now. I have no choice about that. Well, I couldn't let the dog attack the cat, so I had to take it home. So we'll do the Raven tomorrow night. It gives you time to do the reading, because I know most of you didn't do the reading. You show up in class and then you think you're just going to participate opportunistically. This gives you time to do the reading. Right? Doesn't that bring back memories? How many people did the reading? 7 people put their hand up. Can you actually relate to generate income? Because I'm thinking of leaving my job and work towards that. My dream. Would be happy if you shared some thoughts. It's not what you think it is, right? It is possible, depending on the size of the portfolio and how you use embedded leverage. It is possible to generate an income, to be your own entrepreneur. But it's not what you think it is. It's not like sitting down with a bank of 6 screens and you're trading this and you're in and out of that and you're moving over to this. It's a lot of waiting. It's a lot of research and very little trading. There's very little of it that actually happens. That if you looked at the number of trades you would do in the week and say, well, if I squeeze it all together, how much time is it taking a week? Maybe 15 minutes of actually putting in the trades. It's a lot of thinking, and it's a lot of waiting for the position to come your way. So if you are selling, let's say 20 delta, 30 delta puts on underlyings that you feel are well supported, not every underlying is ready every month. So you need 20 or 30 because every month there might only be 6 or 7 that are ready or in a position. So it is just a lot of just research, a lot of analysis, a lot of studying. So it's, it's not that fast-paced lifestyle you see on TV. It really is something you can do first before you're leaving your job and determine whether or not, based on, just take a $10,000 sleeve and say, well, in a couple of months, what kind of return can I generate on 10,000 that still allows me to sleep at night, right? You'll make different decisions when you have to live on that money than when you don't have to live on that money. And because you have to live on it, you tend to trade more often. You tend to take profits when they're there sooner than letting them run. So I would say, try it for as long as you can to determine if you can make a living on it, and then quit your job. What percentage of your overall portfolio value net worth do you manage on your own? When I was in Canada, it was about, I'd say 20%. 20%. But the problem is I can't do much of that now. I'm not a resident of Canada, so I cannot make a trade in Interactive Brokers. The Canadian government would say, aha, you're a resident, and there goes my preferential tax rate. I'm not a resident of Costa Rica yet. I'm a temporary resident, not a permanent resident, so I can't open a brokerage account. But I can trade through my own, it's called the non-discretionary account, my own non-discretionary account at JP Morgan. Just waiting for the options agreement to be signed, and then I'm good to go. So it'll be a smaller amount until I can get Interactive Broker set up down here. Would like to ask, what are your genuine interests outside of finance? Phew. I like I like poetry. I like the arts. I like music, especially classical music. Good literature. Well, you know, like more. My hobbies are more intellectual than like playing rugby or something like that. Filed my taxes in Ontario. 175K income, paid 40K total income tax. Maxed out RSP and FHSA to reduce taxable income by about 31 to 143-ish. 143 and you only paid 40? That doesn't sound right. That doesn't sound right at all. You must have had significant other deductions as well. This year on track for 250K, 53.53 marginal tax. Yep. Look at that. You're in the club of hated people. How dare you make that much money, the government says. We will take it away from you. How dare you be successful when we have unsuccessful people walking around? How dare you? There you go. How do you recommend getting better at reading poetry? I saw the Road Not Taken video, and if I was to read that poem myself, I wouldn't have been able to understand it as well as you did. Because you don't read a poem and then walk away going, You read it, and then you read it again, and then you think about it, and you live with it, and you read it again. And sometimes it could be as much as 2 years later, you read it again, and you see something more. Every time you read, you see a little bit more in it that you didn't see before. A little bit more each time. That's how that's art. Art is the incompleteness of the work. What is not artistic is you read a poem and it tells you everything that you need to know, and there's nothing to figure out, and roses are red, violets are blue, sugar is sweet, and so are you. Well, great, nice little poem, but who cares, right? Art is incomplete, which means where the artist left off, and the finish line is for you to complete, and it's what you make of it. Some poems I read and I see nothing in them. I feel there's nothing left for me to complete. What am I going to do with this? Emily Dickinson was a poet like that. I've read some of her stuff and I think, okay, and so what? Nice structure. Very good structure, but you finished it for me. You finished the thought. Everything is done for me. All I can do is embroider it on a pillow and throw it on my couch, right? So you just live with it for a while. Enjoy it. It's not speed reading. It's art. You have to live with it, right? And same with philosophy. Your first reading of something, you'll think, I don't quite get it. And then you think about it and you reflect on it and you read it again, and maybe there's something in your life that it touches, and it begins to mean something for you. The Raven. I do want you to tune in tomorrow, because there is a huge, important message in the Raven, which I am sure every single one of you has within you the narrator of this poem. A seed of the narrator of this poem brewing in you. Whether or not you take the path of the narrator depends on how you deal with things. So it is a warning, a very clear warning with a terrifying conclusion if you don't heed its warning. That's what makes the poem so terrifying, is because it's a psychological poem. Well, we'll do that tomorrow night. Let's see. How do you think about energy demands in light of the energy ban from AI, and how would that impact electric utilities? Would that make you more bullish on utilities? I am absolutely bullish on utilities for two reasons. Number one, you do have interest rates coming down, and utility cash flows are very bond-like. So utilities will price out like a bond. So I think XLU, if you don't want to pick a winner on utilities, XLU makes sense. Nice big dividend yield. When I think about utilities, I think about bigger utilities. NextEra is probably the biggest utility between NextEra and Duke. They pretty much own all of Florida. But NextEra has already said their regulatory assets are going to grow at 6 to 8% for the next how many years? Regulatory assets, and utilities make money based on the level of their assets. They are guaranteed income. The only way they get more income is with more assets. So the bigger their asset base, their regulatory asset base, the more income they make. So yeah, if you have a world that is becoming more and more technological, more and more digital, you need more and more electrons traveling across wires, which means you need more capacity on the utilities. Not only that, you have a big build out to move away from coal, nat gas, oil. I don't know, does the US have any more coal power plants? They must have a couple. They must have some. And then you're greenifying the grid. I don't know if greenifying is a word, but it is now. Let's just make it a word. I'll send around a petition if I have to, but greenifying, there you go. Thoughts on ASML? Well, they're the leader in lithography. And here's the thing, they do have competition. You know, there are other lithography companies out there that are matching them on nanometer, 3 nanometer, 2 nanometer. They're out there. But you have to build out $1 billion fab. Are you going to take a chance on an unknown, or are you going to go with ASML? Especially when you consider the cost of these machines and the service contract that goes with it is almost the same value as the machine itself. ASML pretty much has a monopoly on lithography. Do you think that the world will become far more digital than what it is? And if you think it will become far more digital, then you'll always need processors. You'll always need chips. You'll always need fabs, which means you'll always need lithography. The technology is not going to stop. Some company's going to say, I can make a faster chip. And you can only make a chip really as fast as the hardware that allows you to build it. So I think that answers the question. But as far as market size expansion, well, it's going to be as fast as if they can make 1 nanometer, they will. And of course, if they make 1 nanometer, then you have the design fabs that say, "Hey, we can do this now." Chinese companies like JD and Baba have been increasing buybacks. Chinese equities are down a lot. I don't know if you saw Carson Block from Muddy Waters on Bloomberg. Nice long interview with him. He basically said, you know, China is uninvestable at this point in time. Uninvestable. I wouldn't touch it, I guess. Buying back shares, introducing a dividend. What else can they do, right? You don't want to see that. You want to see share price going up because the company's revenues are going up, their profitability is going up. But if the share price is going up because of share buybacks and increasing dividends, you know, that's not, it's not the basis for, you know, for longer term growth. Looks like higher for longer in rates. I don't think so. I don't think it looks like higher for longer. Spreads have rallied a lot. Vanilla corporates are incredibly tight. Yes, they are. Any opinion on the CLO market? Issuance has doubled that of private label MBS. No real comment on CLOs. When we say, you know, issuance is doubled, you got to keep in mind how that comes to be, right? You have banks that are facing tougher and tougher regulatory requirements, capital requirements. So they're less and less likely to take on loans that are using a lot of their capital requirement. And since 2008, they backed out of a whole bunch of that stuff. And so that was really where private credit really began to explode, is every time you get a round of tougher and tougher capital requirements for the banks, they back out of certain things, private credit steps in. So it may look like, issuance of CLOs have really increased, but that's really because the banks are sort of abdicating their role in providing that debt. So it has to go into the private space. If you didn't have, let's say that 2007, 2008 never happened, but maybe you had a bit of a recession, subprime was contained in the subprime market, and there was no need for tougher bank regulation. The private debt, private credit asset class would not be anywhere near as large as it is now. So I don't know that we can look at CLOs and the growth in private credit as being a huge increase in the demand for debt, as much as it is a shift from banks to private lenders. I didn't mention that I'll be relying on the applied series to help me generate income, put a lot of work on it, because I feel leaving my job will leave me a lot of time to spend in analysis. Well, you're right. Leaving your job will leave you with a lot of time. I'm not going to argue with that. That is solid analysis. Yeah, just go slow. I mean, really go slow. Just like the sun is out of there. Yeah, but the sun usually disappears, and then it looks kind of boring for a while. Then as the sun dips down a little bit more and starts reflecting off the Pacific, because the direction you're looking in, the Pacific Ocean is on the other side of those mountains, then you get these big orange and pink ribbons going right across the sky. You mentioned How to Win Friends and Influence People as a book you'd recommend. In your opinion, what are the key takeaways from this book? So I don't know if you could say there's key takeaways. The theme is, exactly as the title says, how to win friends and influence people. Not how to manipulate, but how to influence people. Because there are certain things you're going to want in life. Well, you know, no man is an island. That's a poem someday we'll cover. You're not going to get to where you want to get to unless other people want you to get there, right? So you're going to want them to want you to get there. Well, how do you get that kind of influence, right? And it's just a book that if you're going to deal with humans at any point, I think it's a manual on how to deal with humans. That should be required reading, I think, in any high school, or at least in first year university, should be a required reading at some point. But again, you got to take it in context. It was written in the early 30s in the U.S., when the U.S. was far more Christian than what it is today, like 95%, 96%. It was written in that Protestant tradition. There's a lot of God stuff in there, right? A lot of God stuff. If you can just ignore the God stuff and pay attention to the message, it's a great book. It's a great manual. Searching for your MHAT for a while, could you provide some update on it? There were 1,000 MHATs made, and they were to be sold, and I used to match proceeds, even more than match proceeds, and we'd donate it to charity. It was all for charity. So we'd sell the hat, I think, for $30, and then I'd contribute another $45. So every hat sold was $75, and then we'd try to reach 25,000 and we'd give it away to charity. I sold the business, so I don't own that M anymore. And the new owner, I don't think is going to keep up on that program. So I think there was like 200 and some odd hats that are left. They're back in Canada. I've sort of been just giving them away as people show up here at the house, CFA people or people who know me from online. I give away a hat. And that's basically the only way you can get a hat now is to visit Costa Rica and come and see me. And you'll get a hat. But you got to bring a liter of amber maple syrup. That's the deal. I'm not asking much. What else we got here? Where can we get in touch if we're around in Costa Rica? Well, just hit me up on LinkedIn. And if you're in the San Jose area, we can meet up. What do you think about climate-related physical risks and their impact on the banking sector? Well, unless a bank has a head office on a shoreline, I'm not sure what the direct impact would be. Usually banks are very reluctant to finance assets unless you have insurance. So any physical structure, you can get bank loans on it, but you have to have insurance. Now, if insurance decides that it's not going to insure a structure because it is at risk of some climate-related damage, then if you can't secure insurance, you're probably not going to secure a loan or secure a mortgage on that. So I think in an indirect way, I think that's how it can affect banks, unless Senator Warren decides that banks should pick and choose customers based on, things other than can they pay back the loan with their cash flow. I don't know that beyond that insurance link, I think that is the link that the banking sector's really going to pay too much attention. I think they're very cash flow based. Yeah, I think their only concern would be. I got a bird right above my head now. It's a jungle country. What can you do? Oh, as I was coming back, this is great. As I was coming back from walking the dog, I'm walking up the stairs. I look up, a snake is coming down the stairs, and he wasn't moving. So I did, because I'm that kind of guy. What strategy would you take to start researching companies and create reports to show potential employers as if they don't have research work experience? Well, if you have the applied level, watch any of the understanding videos, understanding utilities, understanding mining, because I usually use a company as an example. I do a walkthrough of a company. So look at how I do it, and then take an industry like, let's take casinos, and do the same thing. Learn everything you can about the casino industry, and then use, what are some good publicly traded casinos? Wynn? Las Vegas Sands? Are they still around? But there are some publicly traded casinos. And yeah, you start with the industry, you learn as much about the industry as you can. You go to the 10K, not the 10Q, you go to the 10K, because it has a lot of detail, and you start with description of the company, description of the industry, description of the competition. That'll bring you a lot of the way there. Do you think NVIDIA is overpriced right now? That's the $3 trillion question, right? Is it overpriced? It depends on your assumption, okay? If you think AI is a 10-year build-out, then no, it's not overpriced. If you think AI GPUs particularly are a 5-6 quarter build-out and then the capacity is in place, then yes, it is overpriced. So what do you think? Is this a long-term GPU demand story? Or is this a short-term story where once it's built out, it's built out? Also, is it a quasi-monopoly story or is it a competitive story? Quasi-monopoly is like ASML. Yes, there are other lithography companies, but they can't hold a light to ASML, and no one's going to take a chance at that cost of equipment. ASML basically owns the market. Is that NVIDIA? Or will competition slowly start eating away at what NVIDIA does? Those are the assumptions you have to make. Is number one, how long of a runway does this have? And number two, how well can NVIDIA protect that runway? Have you heard of them working on bringing CDs back for data holding due to the amount they hold with added glass layers? No. I'm going to go ahead and say no. 50% because I've never heard of, I haven't heard anything about that, and the other 50% is I'm not quite sure what you're talking about. I don't know what you're referring to, so I'm just going to go ahead and say no, understanding, of course, that half my no is I don't know what this means. Will the Evergrande liquidation be contagious? Could the lagged effects of COVID on real estate and construction add to the effect, especially with the outlooks on office, real estate, and remote jobs? Evergrande, I think, it's a Chinese story. It's going to stay a Chinese story. I just watched a thing on YouTube from DW, which is a German media company, talking about the property in China. And their reference is millions of empty apartments, millions of empty apartments can't be sold. And they were showing what the prices were relative to other countries per square foot, per square meter in countries, in cities like Beijing and Shanghai versus how much money the average Chinese makes. And you start to wonder, how was this ever affordable? Only after the fact is something so obviously a bubble, and Chinese real estate was a bubble. I think Chinese real estate was a bubble. Now you got really elevated prices in Canada, in the US, but you also have a structural shortage of housing, significantly in Canada, and not so much so in the US, but single family housing, yes. I don't think that's going to fall over there. When we think about office real estate, everyone has been sort of delaying this, kicking the can down the road, extending out loans as much as possible, thinking that, well, if we can just get to the point where interest rates start dropping, because this stuff has floating rate interest on it, if interest rates start dropping, that starts to relieve the pressure. And week to week to week, maybe we see the backed office at 53%, then 54, then 55, then 56, and slowly start to get back there. What is going to happen is everything is going to be fine, or there'll be one big default, and every bank will pull back, causing everyone else who could have gotten refinanced or maybe would have gotten refinanced to be the end of it. And even private credit may pull back on that one and wait for the fallout. So it's not over, I think, in North America for office. Either it'll escape nicely, which I put a lower probability on, or it will build up to the point where as soon as you get one very visible one, every bank will pull back. Anybody that was extending credit will say, no, we can't extend. We simply can't extend. Auditors will begin to pressure banks on their loan loss reserves. Auditors will begin to pressure the mortgage REITs on their loan loss reserves. They'll begin to pressure the office REITs on their asset impairments. That'll all start to happen. And that, once you start with that, that's kind of self-fulfilling prophecy. You like water views? I've had water views my whole life. I kind of like the mountain now. Do you have a view on the IT sector? suffering now, but I think in the long run they will do great with all the investment in tech that companies have to do. When you say IT, I mean, wow, it's such a big sector. What exactly do you mean by IT? Do you like if you have a narrower definition for me, a sub industry perhaps, as opposed to the whole sector? Um, do you mean like big tech IT right now? If you could narrow that down. Did I miss the Raven? The Raven is tomorrow night. I couldn't do the Raven because my neighbor's dog showed up and attempted to attack the cat that decided to make this home his home. Her home, sorry, her home. I almost misgendered the cat. Liberals out there would have had a fit over that. Is your pool heated? Yeah, it's solar heated. That means the sun. And the sun is always out here, so yeah, it's heated. I wish it wasn't. It actually has a heating system for when it's cooler. So there are these big black bags on the roof of the house, and water is pumped up to those big black bags, and the sun heats up those bags and heats up the water, and they sit up there, and that is the source of all the hot water for all the showers. So when you take a shower, the water is surprisingly hot. Considering that there is no water heater. It all comes off the roof. And then the pool itself has a heater where you can set the heater where if the temperature of the pool drops too low, it then brings water down, it starts filtering the water down from the roof. But there is no cooling mechanism on the pool. So the heater's not on and it's like almost 90 degrees. So hopefully once we get into the winter here is the summer up north. Once we get into the winter, like July, August, it'll be cooler. Listen to those cicadas, huh? Just screaming. Anyways, the sunset's starting to look a little bit nicer in the sky. We got some pink showing up. Where were we? 6:03. We got about another 15 minutes before it's over. Let's see what kind of picture we get tonight. It's a little bit of a drag tonight because the clouds are on the horizon as opposed to being higher in the sky. So they're blocking a lot of the view as opposed to reflecting it. But we'll see what happens. We'll go another 10, 15 minutes here and then we'll clock off for the night. Purchased the Applied series, started watching the sector studies. I started with Understanding Banks. Do you have a section for Interactive Brokers? That's not a bank. Interactive Brokers is a broker. So no, I haven't done anything on Understanding Brokers. I haven't touched that at all. Have you ever visited Brazil? No, I have not. Do you see the industry of equity research losing more and more jobs to AI? Not really. While I think AI can do a lot of the lower level research for you, I don't know that it can do a lot of the synthesis and a lot of the, more intuitive analysis. Besides, who's going to analyze the AI companies, right? It would be a conflict of interest for an AI algorithm to analyze the company that it is a part of. What do you think about conflict of interest? No, I we've always had this. Every time there's a new technology, do you think that it'll end this and it'll end that? And it never does. It ends up just creating more jobs. So no, it might kill some jobs, but on net, I think it'll create more jobs. What do you think about cryptocurrencies? Not much. They're not currencies. Okay, they're not currencies. What do I think of crypto? Just drop the word currency. What do I think of crypto? Not much. Not much. Compact disk being used to hold more data due to adding more glass layers instead of holding data on flash hard drives. Okay. Some strategic solutions to improve national liquidity in certain developing countries. Oh, is that all? Open your market more. I mean, integrate more with the world. That really is the only thing. Integrate more with the real world. Be more welcoming to foreign direct investment, and have a freely floating currency with no capital restrictions, and you'll improve liquidity. But some countries don't want to do that, and if they don't do that, well, they will always have lower levels of liquidity. Cat gender is a spectrum. Oh, I upset a liberal. You're right. Cat gender is a spectrum, but I think this cat identifies as a female. It is a female and identifies as a female. It has shown no inclination to any kind of male tendencies. So I'm not going to call it a they. It's a she. Listen, if the cat were upset about it, the cat would have said something. Cat has said nothing. So I assume the cat's okay with the whole thing. Many analysts are saying Tesla is becoming a tech company. Hey. And many are saying, for how long now? By introducing FSD. They have not introduced FSD, and they're nowhere near FSD. No one is near FSD. And create a monopoly by selling the software to customers and selling the cars to rental companies. Well, let's think about that rental thing again. The CEO of Hertz has now lost his job because of this fiasco. Now, he wasn't the one that decided to buy 100,000 electric vehicles, but he was the one that oversaw the deployment of them. They took a huge revenue hit. Like, I think they took a hit to earnings like 250 million because of the price they bought it at and the speed at which Tesla was lowering its prices. They had asset impairment charges. Not only that, their repair costs for EVs were double the cost for internal combustion. And another big thing they forgot about is when somebody rents a car on vacation, where are they going to charge it? It's not like they can go home and charge it. It became just a big, huge problem. And I believe they had a return policy where you have to return it with a charge, or you're charged this huge sum of money. Well, where are they going to get that done? At least when you return a rental vehicle, there's gas stations everywhere. But now you got to return your EV. You got to go find an EV charging station. What if there's a lineup? You got to plug it in. You got to wait an hour. It didn't work out. And so the CEO lost his job, stepping down. It was a fiasco. So I don't know that I would run so far to cars to rental companies. I don't think that's a thing. Have you picked up surfing since moving to Costa Rica? No, I have not. My knees. I in my life really used my knees a lot. I got a lot out of them. But now my knees are saying, that's it. We're done. We're done. You know, you can go ahead and sit there and we won't bother you. But if you try to do any of this other stuff, we're done. We'll take you down. So yeah, my knees. Allegedly, all of the big three will partner with an electric company, Tesla and Lucifer. Well, allegedly. Where is your evidence for that? Where did you read that? Where did you see that? I have a hard time believing any of that. No. Thoughts on Moore's Law and how it relates to how you answered the NVIDIA question? Well, at some point, I imagine there is a limitation to how far you can go. I imagine, unless you find a whole new level of computing. Maybe quantum computing has the ability to fix that. A couple more and then we'll call it a night. How's that sound? Let me turn on the lights out here. Boom, there we go. Light. Oh, by the way, if you do want to see the cat, let's see if I can get you a picture of the cat, the queen of the house. Just showed up one day and said, yeah, this is it right here. This is where I want to be, and that's it. So there's the cat. Looking for the dog for round 2. Sky's looking kind of nice, but I don't know that we're gonna get a nice sunset tonight. Unfortunately, it's gonna be one of these boring ones. So, a couple more questions, and then we'll head out here. IT consulting, IT engineering, IT services, companies that implement, improve, optimize companies' IT systems, for example, Accenture, Global. Okay, so I really don't know the state of those sub-industries at all. So I can't answer that one. So Raymond, how to get set up on Interactive Brokers? Do you have a video on how to set up? Is it pretty straightforward? Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. Go to Interactive Brokers, open an account, and then you just follow the process. You're opening an individual account, and it's a margin account, and then you just follow the process. And that's it. That's it. One more. Would you give any credence to Bostic's comments on Friday, one rate cut this year as opposed to the consensus of 3 cuts? No, he may in his mind have the idea that there's one rate cut, but it's the rest of the committee as well. And the dot plot shows that there's more than one rate cut. That, based on the 19 dots, you take the median dot, it's 3. Now that's the median dot is 3. That means that there are 9 at more than 3, or 3 or more, and there are 9 3 or less. But the median is 9. The middle dot, the 10th dot, is 3 rate cuts. So he might be the one at the very top, great, but there's 18 other people below him, and he doesn't go it alone. How do you not get lonely at your Costa Rica place? Because I got dogs that show up, I got cats that show up. I have people who come in from out of town who want to visit. I have 2 here now. I don't think that they want to talk or be on camera or anything, but they're sitting here. I'm looking at them right now. Do you guys want to say hi? Just say hello. Hello.
Hey.
Do you want to be on camera? Do you want everybody to see you? Okay, let's turn it around and let's look at the guests that I have here. They are Canadian. He works in a bank, and she works for a private equity fund, right? Private equity fund. Look at that, right? And they both got their MM hats. They both got their M hat. So that's what you got to. Oh, and by the way, they did bring me a couple liters of maple syrup. They did not step out of that obligation. They brought their maple syrup, man. So yeah. So no, I'm not lonely here. Anyways, let's end it here. And tomorrow night, I promised the Raven. Hopefully that dog doesn't show up. Hopefully no snakes show up. Hopefully everything is fine. I do have to pick somebody up at the airport tomorrow night, because yes, I do have another person coming in. So I'd have to leave here around 7, but 5 to 6:15 tomorrow night we'll do the Raven. That gives you time to do the readings for class. I will see you tomorrow night. I'm going to log off now.